here. We can already see 50 people are joining and growing. We're very delighted to have you here today. So we can give possibly a few seconds to the audience that is trickling in, then we can kick off. All right, once again, greetings everybody and welcome to today's webinar. We are delighted to have you here today. We have organized this conversation together with FCDO, bringing us together for the opportunity to exchange learning experiences on the research and innovation ecosystem strengthening. We have lined up a rich conversation from key stakeholders that we have been working with over the last couple of years. My name is Sheila Mudeu-Kioko, and I will be your moderator today. So a few things to get us started as we proceed. As you're joining the call, you'll realize that we are recording. So in case you wish not to be recorded, kindly note the call is being recorded. And this is for us to use for later conversations and cross-learnings after the webinar. The Q&A section is open for you to present any questions that you might have as the webinar is progressing, and we shall answer them at the tail end of the call. Now, the way we are approaching our Q&A for this learning webinar is for every question that is raised, everybody in the audience will have an opportunity of voting for the most ideal question and the most interesting question to be asked during the webinar. So please vote ahead and we'll bring all the questions to the fore as we progress. And last but not least, to keep us engaged in the next 1.5 hours, we have lined up a set of questions in polls in every stage that we will be proceeding to keep us engaged. We'll be asking simple questions, very keen to get your insights and to get you involved as you're progressing with the webinar. Now, without further ado, allow me to introduce and welcome our set of panelists and speakers for the day. Our webinar today is focused on resilient partnerships and how these are driving change in Africa's research and innovation ecosystems. Before us, we have lined up a set of 4 speakers, beginning with Dr. Emmeline Skinner from FCDO, that is the Foreign Commonwealth Development Office, and she is the Evidence Innovation and Inclusion Advisor in East Africa Research Innovation Hub. We have Dr. Tese Nyaluku. He is a national team lead at Adam Smith International. And we have Mary Afinye Abeka. She is a program coordinator at Impact Invest in Ghana. And with us today, we also have Daniel Yigusie. He's the academic vice dean at University of Gondar. Now, to kick us off, I'll welcome Dr. Emmeline Skinner from FCDO to give us a keynote to start us off. Emmeline, welcome. And let me know if you'd like to project.
Great, thank you. I think you've got the slides, right? If you could put up the first slide, that'd be great.
Right.
Wonderful, great. Well, welcome everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to this. It's a first of a series of learning webinars that RISA Fund is organising, and I want to thank Sheila and the team for organising this, and our speakers from Ghana, Nigeria, and Ethiopia, who are going to be coming on after me. So my name's Emmeline Skinner, as Sheila said. I'm from the East Africa Research and Innovation Hub, which is one of the FCDO's 5 specialist regional hubs around the world that bring together local and UK expertise in research, science, tech, and innovation to build UK-Africa partnerships, so very aligned with the theme of what we're talking about today. Our work is all about trying to seek innovative solutions to address development challenges, and we do this through a number of ways: commissioning research, promoting science tech innovation, and brokering partnerships, always with a focus on making sure that those are locally driven, sustainable, and inclusive. We've been supporting the RISA Fund since its inception in 2021, and I think Sheila's just putting a slide up to show you a bit about what RISA Fund is, for those of you not familiar with it. RISA stands for Research and innovation systems in Africa. And it's been running for the last 5 years, really working across that nexus of research systems and innovation system strengthening. So it does that by supporting locally driven pathways. A lot of work is around research to commercialization. How do we ensure that the research that takes place in African institutions is actually translated into new products, services, ventures that can address development challenges? And it facilitates access to finance those innovations so that they can scale and thrive. But also a lot of the work it does is around strengthening the ecosystem, whether that's the research ecosystem, the innovation one, and really ensuring long-term sustainability. So over the period of time that we've been working with RISA, it's invested in over 28 partnerships and grantees, really enabling them to strengthen the work that they do and work with different stakeholders across the innovation ecosystem. So those might be innovators, entrepreneurs, government agencies, research institutions, and it's all about promoting collaboration and facilitating cross-country ecosystem partnerships. So today we're here to talk about resilient partnerships, and we're going to be hearing in a moment from 3 of the partners that we work with through RISA Fund across diverse sectors and different contexts. But I thought it might be useful before to just think a bit about what do we mean by a resilient partnership, and particularly in this context of research innovation system strengthening, and what is it that makes a partnership resilient, and why does this matter for us as a development partner? So maybe starting out with kind of definitions, what do we see as a resilient partnership in the context of R&I strengthening? And I think it's all about collaboration, and it's about bringing together diverse actors, whether those be from academia, from government, private sector, or civil society. But maybe the most important part is the fact that this resilient means that they need to be able to endure the shocks. These partnerships have got to be able to adapt and continue to generate value, even when there's change or disruption or uncertainty. So maybe it's helpful to think about what is the opposite to resilient partnership, because I think we're learning in development, like how do we make sure that what we do is more sustainable and long term. And I think if we think about the opposites to a resilient partnership, it's one that's fragile, that's short term, that's maybe structured around funding and donor incentives, and which can't resist shocks, disruption, and uncertainty. And this is important now because I think we all know that we're living in a world that is full of uncertainty. And we've seen unprecedented shocks happening in the last few years, whether those are pandemics, conflict, climate shocks, or major geopolitical shifts. And I think most recently, for those of us working in the development sector, the dramatic cuts that we are seeing to ODA funding, which is really challenging the type of partnerships that we build, and meaning that they are having to really demonstrate extreme resilience to survive and endure this kind of more uncertain, changeable landscape. So our work with RISA Fund has really shown us that it is absolutely critical that partnerships are not just structured around short-term funding mechanisms. And that is a challenge because we know that our programs are often limited in time frame, and often we have very short-term objectives or project goals which are set by the donors. But we need to make sure that we build partnerships that can endure beyond these. And that means that they've got to be built on trust, on equitable power dynamics, on shared incentives and mutual benefit, as well as a longer-term commitment, which may go beyond the duration of the program. We've really tried through RISA to look at how can we create partnerships that can withstand shocks, that can endure, and that will last beyond the funding cycle. RISA Fund is coming to a close in 2026, but we're really optimistic that many of the partnerships that we've created through that will last beyond the program and will lead to changes for the wider system. But I think it's important when we talk about resilient partnerships, it isn't just about enduring. It isn't just about the length and whether they can stand. It's also about whether they can bounce back in the face of shock, whether they can learn, adapt, and grow stronger with each challenge. So it's really about partnerships that can evolve with the changing context. And I think a lot of the work that we've catalyzed through RISA Fund will change and adapt, but we hope that those partnerships will endure. So 4 key elements that we've seen that are really critical for resilient partnerships, and which we've tried to promote through RISA Fund. One is around that purpose alignment. So making sure that we have shared incentives. It really matters that the different partners involved have a shared vision and an understanding of the value of collaboration beyond the individual project. It can't just be about coming together because there's some joint funding. It's got to be about actually agreeing on that vision. And I think one of the ways that we've done that is really working with our theory of change for this program, trying to understand the pathways of change, making that as involving a process that everyone gets engaged in to really make sure that we have a shared vision of where we're trying to get to, how we get there, what are the barriers, what are the enablers, and having that shared incentive. Unless that's there, the partnership is not going to endure. A second point is around the power balance. So making sure that partnership is based on principles of equity and inclusion. That means making sure that both sides have an equal say and voice in the way that the partnership is designed and implemented. And I think this is a real challenge for all of us working in development, making sure that where the funding is doesn't skew where the power is, and that we're giving a say to local partners and making sure that they really are based on equity and inclusion. The third element is around adaptive capacity. So how flexible are these partnerships and how rigid? Have we integrated into them an element of flexibility? And do they have an element of learning so that they're able to learn and adapt as they move and shift to changing contexts and circumstances? That means having really strong MEL systems. And we've invested heavily within RISA Fund on the monitoring, evaluation and learning, both at the centre, what RISA Fund does, but also within each of our partners, making sure that we are really maximising the opportunities for learning, that we're seeing what's happening and adapting to cope with that changing environment. And finally, the fourth one is trust. This is the last ingredient, but I think possibly the most important. We know that without trust, we can't work together, we can't collaborate, we can't partner. And I think trust is absolutely key to building stronger ecosystems, but it's really difficult to measure. And it's quite difficult, a thing to kind of track and have within your KPIs. But we really need to look at how do we build the transparency, the empathy, the accountability that we need to achieve that trust, because that is what is needed to get these stronger, more endurable, more resilient ecosystems. So how do we achieve this magic recipe of resilient partnerships? I'm just going to give a little snapshot of some of the things that we've done through RISA Fund, and I think you'll be hearing a lot more from our speakers later. I think one of the ways we've done it is really investing in networking and relationship building so that we can provide those opportunities and incentives for collaboration. Unless people know about what the other institutions are doing, what others are, who else is out there, where they're working, what the benefits of collaboration are, they're not going to be able to come together and form partnerships. And just one example, which I'm sure we'll be hearing more about from Tese later, is the work that's been going on in Nigeria, where they've established the Coalition Network of Stakeholders in Agricultural Mechanization, CONESAM, which is a formal network structure which brings together 2,000 members from across 7 states. And by providing those linkages, it's really provided incentives for different actors in the system to come together, whether they're maker spaces, clusters, technology centers, but really facilitating new partnerships, because there's an incentive on both sides to develop and to realize that both institutions to be stronger. That's really led to kind of a strengthening of the research ecosystem and more co-creation and commercialization. A second area that we have worked in through RISA Fund is that promoting local leadership. So making sure we're investing in local institutions and knowledge systems, whether those are led by government agencies, by research organizations or universities, private sector, community organizations, innovators. It's really key that we have that local leadership. And I think we're going to be hearing later from Impact Invest in Ghana, which has worked a lot on this kind of building the local ecosystem for investment, and is now working collaboratively with Nigeria's Impact Investors Foundation on really trying to create that investor kind of ecosystem, which is locally led and is enabled much more domestic investment in research and innovation. So how do we build more of these local leaders? A third area, which goes back to what I was saying before about the adaptive, is that learning, like making sure we're really investing in learning and giving flexibility to shape the partnership around shared learning and knowledge. One of the examples of how we've done this is our work with Growth Africa Foundation, which has been partnering with governments in Kenya, Ethiopia and Rwanda to build collaborative models around data, really providing the incentives, but also the systems for sharing data, for making sure that actors are incentivized to share their data, to work together, whether they're innovators or entrepreneurs, and working to see how, by sharing data, learning together, we can generate insights and scale ventures in those countries. And I think that partnership is a real testament to how we can kind of build governance landscapes and enhance more data-driven decision making in the future. And finally, I think it's about institutions, that when we invest in partnerships, we need to make sure that we're building institutional capacity. It's about the people within those institutions, but it's really important that when they move on, when contexts change, the partnerships can endure. And I think each of our RISA Fund partnerships has done this, whether they've invested in academic institutions, research organizations, private sector, investors and entrepreneurial support organizations or civil society. We've really contributed to the kind of institutional capacity to make sure those partnerships will endure. So as we approach the end of the RISA Fund, the question of resilience and sustainability is really at the forefront. You know, we really want to make sure that what we've invested in will continue. And we're really focusing now on building the learning so that we can make sure that the future work we do is also focused around this area. And we're really looking forward to hearing today from our partners and hearing more from them on what they do believe really matters for resilience, and also being able to learn from them what they would like to see in terms of development partner practice to build more resilience in the future. So I will stop there and hand over to our panel. And thanks again to RISA Fund for organising this. I'm looking forward to all the questions and discussion to follow. Thanks.
Thank you, Emmeline, for that walkthrough. It's a great framing on the importance of resilient partnerships in strengthening Africa's research and innovation landscape. And we've heard from Emmeline key things. One, understanding what resilient partnerships are and the elements to strong partnership and how we achieve this. She's also laid the ground pretty well for our speakers, our panelists who are coming on board. So I'll call in one by one and you'll see them, all of us sat on the screen, where we'll engage in a discussion to learn more about how they've undertaken resilient partnerships in the spaces of work where they are. So I will begin with Dr. Tese Nyaluku. Yes, I can see you there. Yes. Welcome, Dr. Tese. So Dr. Tese is the national lead of Adam Smith International. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Sheila.
All right.
It's a pleasure being here all the time.
Thank you. I'll proceed to Mary Afinye Abeka. She's a program coordinator of Impact Invest in Ghana. And
hello, Sheila. Good to be here.
All right. And we have Daniel Yigusie, the academic vice dean at the University of Gondar. Daniel?
Yes. Do you hear me?
Yes, yes. We can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Emmeline, thank you. And as Emmeline takes the seat, we shall progress with the discussion with the panelists. All right, thank you, Daniel. Nice to see you. All right, so starting off, we've had some of these programs being mentioned. We've had in Nigeria, there's the work that is happening under the CONESAM model for coordinated ecosystem support. We've had also the work from Ghana under the Enterprise Support Organization's Collaborative. We've also had in Ethiopia the Multi-Stakeholder Forum focused on inclusive innovation. But if we are to bring the audience on board, and audience, I can see we've already kicked off our first poll. Just a reminder, we're keeping the learning workshop very engaging. So we'll have polls popping up as we progress with the conversation to keep you engaged and also to gather what your perspectives and opinion are in the matters of partnerships in research and innovation. So the poll we have before us is, in your view, and this builds on Dr. Emmeline from FCDO's remarks, keynotes, in your view, what makes research and innovation partnership resilient? And this is based on your experience. No bias, we receive the polls open-ended. We won't know who it is. We just want to get the perspective from the continent on what it is. And I can see the word cloud is already populating. Many are talking about trust already, win-win, collaborations, benefits from members. So keep your polls coming, and we appreciate all 80 of our members who have joined us today. So first question to our panelists, and this one goes to ladies first. Mary, from your perspective and your work in Ghana, what models and approaches have been effective in fostering sustainable partnerships?
Great, thank you, Sheila, for that. So first of all, I just want to speak just a bit of background in terms of Impact Invest in Ghana, who we are. So we are a private sector-led ecosystem builder with a core mandate to direct more capital towards businesses and initiatives that generate both positive social and environmental impact across Ghana and West Africa. And speaking specifically to the ESO Collaborative, the collaborative approach emphasizes more on shared ownership, standardization, and pooled incentives. So one of the models that has worked is the collaborative network model. So looking at a multi-stakeholder partnership, bringing together like government agencies, private enterprise support organizations, and networks like Ghana Hubs Network to co-design and co-deliver solutions for enterprise development. So really narrowing on key things like having a shared vision and governance. So the ESO Collaborative was intentionally built as a neutral convening platform to align different actors around a shared goal, improving like quality, the quantity, and impact of enterprise support in Ghana. So this is one of the key focus or what brought together. Another is the shared learning and quality improvement. So we have the Skill Quality Improvement Program, which we adopted, and it was developed by Agidios Foundation. The ESOs undertake a self-assessment and a peer review and technical model to raise their performance standard. So this really created a culture of accountability and a mutual learning rather than a fragmented competition, because in the past, the ESOs are really fragmented, having programs all over the place. So with this model or with this initiative, we are able to have an accountability and also a mutual learning for the ESOs. One of the other key that we focused on was also on the pooled financing mechanism. So the design of the ESO pooled fund introduced a sustainable funding model, which has two windows. So one window to strengthen the ESOs through a grant and shared service, and the other window is to provide like a pre-seed capital for SMEs emerging from these ESOs that have gone through their program. So this innovative model also aligns incentives across the funders, ESOs, and entrepreneurs. And then we have the shared data and language. So through the Common Language Project or initiative, the collaborative developed a standardized terminology and KPIs. So this is reducing miscommunication, enabling the evidence-based collaboration between the ESOs, government, and also investors. So these are some of the key, some of the models that have worked and some of the key initiatives from the models that we are implementing here in Ghana. Back to you, Sheila.
Thank you, Mary. Now, while we're still in Africa, Dr. Tese, what models from ASI's work and approaches have been effective in fostering sustainable partnerships?
Thank you very much, Sheila. Thank you, everyone present. Essentially, collaboration is the key. What we have experienced here in Nigeria is to ensure that we listen to our stakeholders before we design an approach or an intervention. So CONESAM, connection of stakeholders in agricultural mechanization, was actually a brainchild of our stakeholders. It stemmed from we listening and saying, what do you guys want? How do you guys want to operate? What should be the purpose? So we had a beautiful name for it as an approach. We called it pragmatic stakeholders engagement. In this case, we saw a fantastic opportunity where the challenge was that key stakeholders within the R&I ecosystem were working in different silos, doing great things, but no alignment. And this is us saying, hey guys, is it possible for you to come together and work as a team? So we gave birth to an intervention called participatory technology development. So it's on that approach is premised on an agreement that we will share knowledge together and we openly transfer technology across the ecosystem. And then we came back and said, hey guys, so if you now come together and have agreed to work as an ecosystem, sharing knowledge and information and transferring technology, is there an issue with patents? And that's the beauty of this pragmatic approach. They looked at it and said, oh, well, they don't think that's such a big issue to them. And so everybody said, okay, let us sign up to the Creative Commons license where we openly own all of this together. So we crossed that. But you would have noticed that there is a gradual process of trust building that has to go through all of this, because these are otherwise change bedfellows that are supposed to have worked together but saw themselves initially as competitors. And we now landed around what we called another intervention we refer to as distributed manufacturing. This one culminated all of their interest. And we said, so if you guys are working together, sharing technology and knowledge and information, to what end? And this is a very important approach, because coming together of research institutions means that researchers, engineers, and scientists are on the table. And then the other partners were fabricators and processors and farmers. And at the mix of it, you will see that processors and farmers are end users of technology, essentially, while the fabricators are in between the research institutions and the end users, and a very good cement in between them. And there is this serious rivalry between fabricators and engineers, where one thinks that they know better than the other. And because we now brought them together to embark on certain challenges that we've discovered all together, they were now able to work together and realize that, hey, there is value in a fabricator's ideas and concepts, and engineers now grew respect for fabricators and fabricators otherwise. And within this mix, we ensured that every time we met, we encouraged all fabricators, research institutes, and processors and farmers to bring their products along. So they were selling at every time we met. So they saw value in coming because they were also selling. And that common point with distributed manufacturing as a concept became that it is now an opportunity for them to scale, mass produce in numbers that can be sensible to say that they have commercialized. And because of that hope, they now found CONESAM as a vehicle that should provide coordination for them. So summarily, it's a collaborative approach that had to evolve organically, built on trust, and enabled by common interest. Thank you very much. Over to you, Sheila.
Thank you, Dr. Tese. That was quite inspiring. So we've had the concepts from West Africa, and I wonder what is happening on this other side to the east of Africa. So Daniel, I can see you, and it would be good to get the perspective from University of Ganda in Ethiopia. What models worked for you in building your partnerships towards resilience?
Okay, thank you, Sheila. You see, in our case, we try to complement the technology transfer model with that of the innovation system perspective. In the previous years, we are focusing on technology transfer, which is a one way. But in ours is, the main perspective is to think on innovation system perspective. Based on that, we try to organize a multi-stakeholder platform, or we can say it as an innovation platform. So this platform tries to bring different actors together, which to have different function. For example, you have knowledge development actors who are working on generating new knowledge. And you have also entrepreneurial actors who try to promote an entrepreneurship. And you have also a dissemination actors who focus on the dissemination of technologies and the like. And also we are also have actors focusing on market integration. So based on different system function and based on different structural components, we try to connect a multi-stakeholder platform, which helps us, to sustain our activities in the future. Basically our project focuses on improving the livelihood of farmers or disadvantaged groups through scaling up of research verified technologies and establishment of multi-stakeholder platform. So we are successful enough, to sustainably disseminate almost about 7 types of innovations or technologies to the farming community. So we scaled improved seed rice varieties. We scaled solar pump and also different improved beehives and rice milling machine through using this model. So we can witness that, creating a partnership, creating collaboration among actors is very essential to bring a sustainable change or to bring a sustainable system change for our farmers. So the basic model that we used for our scaling is, establishment of multi-stakeholder platform or innovation platform based on the functions or based on the engagement of the actors. So this is a model that we utilize in our university. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Daniel. And what I'm hearing in resonance across the board is aligning on the vision, shared data languages, balancing the powers, bringing the stakeholders onto the same table and listening to them. And the multi-stakeholder aspect, appreciating that there's a variety of the stakeholders in this conversation. Now, we do understand each of the model was designed fit for purpose, relevant to your own context. And we'd want to understand more about the challenges that you went in to address that inspired the model that you undertook. Mary, if we could start with you, you spoke about the sustainable financing for SMEs through the ESOs, the enterprise support organizations. What challenge, what concern did you identify in Ghana that you were trying to and managed to address?
Yeah, so our model emerged as a direct response to systematic gaps in Ghana's enterprise and investment ecosystem. So issues affecting the growth of small and medium enterprises, SMEs, and the sustainability of ESOs themselves. So dozens of the incubators, the accelerators, the hubs were delivering enterprise support programs, yet there was no shared framework for quality assurance, for collaboration, or for measurement of outcomes. So there was a clear need to introduce, first of all, the Skill Quality Improvement Program, which has now enabled about 12 ESOs to implement data-driven quality assessment. So to build on MME systems and standardize their curriculum. And these ESOs have supported over 1,200 businesses, created over 700 jobs, both indirect and direct, and 85% of these ESOs are also running paid programs and have been intentional about Yigusie. One other issue also was on the unified platform. So the ESO Ghana platform has created a national database just to support programs and also connecting over I think over 900 businesses and ESOs, and allowing those businesses to easily locate support offering. And lastly, the lack of funding or also sustainable funding for ESO. So the design of the ESO Code Fund addressed the challenge of insufficient financing models for ESOs and early stage enterprises. So the ESO Collaborative was really designed to turn more around competition into cooperation and transforming disconnected hubs into a collective self-improving ecosystem. So those are some of the key challenges we're trying to solve and some of the initiatives that we've implemented to address these challenges. Back to you, Sheila.
Thanks, Mary. What about the work that was undertaken with ASI? Possibly you could share more, Dr. Tese, with CONESAM?
Sheila, thank you. The earliest research institution in Nigeria is as old as from 1921. And for our knowledge exchange and cascaded commercialization project in Nigeria, we focused on agriculture and zeroed down on agricultural mechanization. So agricultural technology is driving economic development. And what we noticed is that all of these centers of research and development, spanning about 22 of them funded by the federal government in Nigeria, we're not even counting those funded by the subnational governments, are all out there researching and innovating around agricultural mechanization with the old convention that someday some big corporate will come to Nigeria and pick up their prototypes and then commercialize them and do all that process of IPR and all of that. And that has not happened since 1921. And I dare say that I am yet to see where it has happened sustainably across Africa. So what it means invariably is that most of our formal economy is driven by large corporates, and there are very few. Most of Nigeria's economy is driven by micro, small, and medium enterprises. If that be the case, then shouldn't research institutions focus their attention on providing solutions to the highest numbers of business needs? And so, when we approached research institutions and we said, hey, can we look at the flip side of things? We're not saying this old convention doesn't work, but maybe someday it will work. But can we try the other way and see if it's possible that research can be beneficial for MSMEs? And that was where we coined the term local industry, of local fabricators, of farmers, and local processors adding value to agricultural commodities. So bringing them together and saying we're creating linkages and synergies between research and development centers and these local MSMEs was a great solution to be provided, and that was the challenge. And essentially, that's linkage and synergy would improve the productivity and capacity of these MSMEs operating and enable them with better throughputs in their businesses. But essentially, summarily, the challenge was that research and development centers were working in isolation and were waiting for a day that was not yet Uhuru. And then there was a pressing need for MSMEs to access research and innovation products, and they were not getting it. Thank you very much. Over to you, Sheila.
All right, thanks, Dr. Tese. Dalian, with the multi-stakeholder platform, what was the core challenge that you identified?
Okay, the basic challenge that we faced during the implementation of this approach is, the first one is to try to identify actors. Identification of actors based on function will be challenging within our scenario. And in addition to that, there is a distinct institution, rule and regulation, so that everybody can come together and collaborate for the purpose of our activity. So institutions like different rules, norms are challenging us. And the other one is that of the network issue, because the culture by itself, the culture of collaboration, the culture of partnership is, we can say it is at infant stage. So every organization wants to conduct their activity in isolation. So the network issue in relation to the culture, the habits, or the existing habit of different organizational culture, that means the organizational culture is affecting us, to perform our activity. The basic factor or the basic challenge that faces is, infrastructure. In terms of physical infrastructure, and also we can say in terms of financial. So financial issue is very important for the establishment of multi-stakeholder platform. It requires budget, it requires resource, because we are trying to pull different organizations from different perspectives. So to make them, even to make them sit and discuss on a certain issue, we need to have some financial. So these are, some of the issues that we should consider when we are working with a multi-stakeholder platform. Otherwise, it is a very interesting approach. It is a very current paradigm which complements the transfer of technology approach. People should sit together. There should be an interaction. Private actors should be involved in the activities. But the aforementioned challenge may affect the activities of multi-stakeholder platform. Thank you, Sheila.
Yes, thank you, Daniel. And while I still have you, I'm wondering, out of this now engagement, what impact have you seen through your partnerships that has contributed in your respective research and innovation ecosystem of work?
Okay, I think it is, this one is towards me. Yeah. Yeah, you are muted, Sheila.
Oh, thank you for that. Yes, I was asking, what impact have you seen from the partnerships that you've developed so far that has strengthened your research and innovation ecosystem?
Yeah, we successfully disseminated our innovations, our technologies to the end users. We try to disseminate improved seed varieties so that farmers, they increase their yield. Especially we can witness there is yield increment from 32 quintal per hectare to around 50 quintal per hectare. So we reach an impact to create for farmers to improve their productivity and also their income. Even in the honey and avocado production, our farmers, they increase their yield in terms of honey production. And they develop sense of ownership. The basic and the great impact of our project at grassroots level, we engaged different government officers and extension workers. So they developed a sense of ownership to our project. So we can say after the RISA, the program and the project continues, even the university take over our activity. And this year we already disseminated improved rice varieties for farmers with a budget or with the resource of University of Gondar. So even our main partner, Fogara Rice Research Center, also still collaborating with farmers. So such kind of sustained impacts was achieved due to our approach or methodology.
Thank you, Daniel. And Mary, through the work you're doing with the ESO Collaborative, what impact have you seen so far and the vision that is coming as well?
Yeah, so with the introduction of the shared framework for quality improvement, this has really transformed how ESOs defined, deliver, and also measure enterprise support. So with the support from RISA and other partners like FMO, 6 of the ESOs have received grants and technical assistance to implement targeted quality improvement actions, such as governance strengthening, HR systems, and even digital data tracking tools. It has also established a shared infrastructure and ecosystem connectivity. So for the first time, small businesses can easily discover and engage high quality support programs nationwide. And because of the platform also acts as the national database for ESO programs, resources, collaboration like opportunities, improving visibility and transparency for SMEs, funders, and also some government agencies. Another transformative outcome also is the ESO, the creation of the Pooled Fund, which is a sustainable blended finance vehicle designed to support both ESOs and early stage businesses, which is strengthening the innovation to investment pipeline and ensuring that research-driven or incubator-born enterprises access early capital. And so this collectively, all these initiatives that we've put out there is signaling a shift from isolated or ad hoc like enterprise support to a more coordinated, quality-driven like investment-ready ecosystem. Back to you, Sheila.
Thank you, Mary. Yes, Dr. Tese, similar question to you. What impact have you felt and is also coming on board through the work that you've done under CONESAM model?
Well, interesting impact observed so far. on the side of the research institutions, remember I mentioned earlier that they are funded by the federal government, even if they deserve more, but the little they get, in the past, they would focus on fanciful research and innovation projects, but because of participatory technology development, they now appreciate that their research and innovation should be focused on demand-driven assessment. So they now understand that should they want to carry out a certain research or innovation, they should ask stakeholders, in this case, processors, fabricators, and farmers, what exactly is the need that we have been able to entrench within them. Secondly, the fabricators have also realized that it is possible that they can work together. Otherwise, they used to hoard information from each other, thinking that that would be the best way of saying, of guaranteeing that since I'm the only one that understands how to build a certain machine, then all the market should come to me. We have been able to change that mentality for them to realize that with distributed manufacturing, if you come together and you are able to build more and meet customer demands, you will make more money. And they have practicalized it. It's an exciting fabricator cluster in Kano. We're able to supply to Niger state government, which is a state government in the north central part of Nigeria, with 150 multi-crop threshers from a technology that was cascaded from the National Center for Agricultural Mechanization in Ilorin. Now that they can build it, they are coming together to build a mass and sell. So otherwise, one fabricator might be able to build 1 or 2 threshers in a month. Now they can build 150 threshers in a month as a group. The third aspect that is also embedded in CONESAM sustainability is that going forward after RISA, CONESAM is putting together itself as the coordination point with an alter ego of being a kind of middleman. So a lot of people, processors, fabricators, and farmers that are not within the CONESAM network, and even individual investors that want to invest in agro-processing, wonder where they could find equipment and machinery, and it's expensive importing them. So CONESAM positions itself as that middleman that will create linkage and synergies at a fee with a commission with research institutions and fabricators to provide equipment and machinery and tools needed for agricultural productivity across Nigeria. These are the 3 emerging impacts that we have seen, and I'm sure a lot more will come up later.
Thank you. And back to the audience, I can see a second poll was launched, which is looking at finding out from you what barriers you have faced in building resilient partnership. We've given some suggestions for you to respond to, and we'll get back to the results as we close the call in a few minutes that are coming. Now, I've had matters sustainability, and also Dr. Emmeline in the beginning did encourage the need for looking at how to endure to the rapidly changing landscape. So I wonder what thoughts and also progress has been made by each of these models and agencies represented here towards scaling the sustainable partnerships that you have already established so far. So what are the pathways that you're undertaking to scaling the successful research and innovation partnership? I'll begin with Mary.
Okay, so looking at what we've done by embedding the collaboration in a formal governance process. So again, when I shared earlier, it was through co-design and co-deliver solutions. So the ESO Collaborative has ensured that partnerships are not a one-off intervention. but a continuous operating system. So the sustainability stems from its multi-stakeholder partnership, which combines the strength of the diverse stakeholders that we have. So from private sector ESOs and networks like the Ghana Hubs Network, government agencies like the NEIP, Ghana Enterprise Agencies, and development partners, even like RISA Fund and Agidios Foundation. So with the model working here in Ghana and through structured knowledge transfer and modular design, the collaborative model has been replicated in Nigeria currently. So as Emily shared earlier, we are working together with the Impact Investors Foundation in Nigeria, replicating this model, and again can also be replicated in other African countries with similar ecosystem challenges without reinventing like the system. So like Scale, ESO Pooled Fund, the platform have been modeled and implemented also in Nigeria by our national partner, the IAF. So those are some of the strategies we've put in place to ensure that this can be replicated in other regions. Back to you, Sheila.
Thank you, Mary. And what about Daniel in Ethiopia? What pathways are you currently pursuing to scale your partnerships?
Okay, thank you. Regarding the farmers' side, still we organize farmers into a cooperative and a legalized cooperative, which focuses on, for example, rice producers and marketing cooperative. So these farmers, they built even their house for the milling machine and the like. So sustainably, we make them, to be a trader, an entrepreneur. At the same time, they are producer and they are engaged in the marketing of rice. So this is one achievement that we made. And also we try to connect the university with different research and innovation institutions, like with a nearby research institution. So we try to strengthen the universities, or we try to widen the university research and innovation ecosystem with different actors engaged in agricultural research and training. Even the university by itself creates an interest to engage in this activity after RISA, as I have already told you earlier. So we are sustainably connecting, we are creating a partnership with different actors. Actually, we are successful enough, to collaborate with 27 actors on this multi-stakeholder platform. Starting from the grassroots level, that means from the niche level, and we do have at regime level and at national level. So we have regional government, and we do have the national Ethiopian Agricultural Research Institute within this system. So the university and other organizations within this platform are benefited in collaborating with different activities to conduct their research, to conduct their training and the like. So we learned that, creating a platform, a multi-stakeholder platform, can bring a sustainable scaling rather than doing scaling in isolation. It is better to conduct with different actors to bring a sustainable activity or to benefit our farmers. So this is the case in Ethiopia.
Thank you, Daniel. Dr. Tese, with CONESAM, how are you sustaining the partnership towards scale?
Oh, well, earlier, Emmeline made mention of CONESAM in 7 states and about 2,000 members. I am happy to inform you that CONESAM has grown beyond that. CONESAM is now in 16 states out of 36 in Nigeria, and over 2,000, way over 2,000 members that are farmers, fabricators, processors, and still counting. And this is actually evolving organically without any project-supported resources, apart from engaging with them and sharing with them templates and concepts of how to organize themselves. And hopefully, we're going to have most of these new states represented when we host our National Agricultural Mechanization Summit towards the end of the year. And ab initio, we perceived right from the beginning of this bridge year that we would need to strengthen our collaborations if CONESAM must be sustainable. So most of our interventions are alongside government collaborators. For example, we have the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria hosting what we call the Research to Commercialization Connect. Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria is the umbrella body for all agriculture-related research institutes and training institutions in Nigeria. So it's a strong coordination point, and we have developed a dashboard in their office to be able to see what research institutions are proposing as research or innovation for every year. And they will be able to say, hey guys, you two can work together on this, or this one is more advanced, and then advise on alignments and synergies to promote that demand-driven approach to research and innovation. We also recognize that our members need to sell. It's a very strong point for CONESAM. If members are not selling and making money, then there is a problem. So we have our web-based platform that we intend to enable so that it becomes an innovation to market platform and enable access to new markets. It's about 90% complete, and I'm sure we're going to launch it at NAMIS. And it's a platform where fabricators can sell, processors can sell, and farmers can sell their commodities. And with these two, we are collaborating with the National Board for Technology Incubation that has 37 technology incubation centers across Nigeria. And we are working very collaboratively, even after the project, to ensure that that becomes, so this is a fee-based system. So CONESAM as an institution will also make money from transactions that emanate and matching opportunities that happen. We have also been able to facilitate international technology transfer that really is interesting, and we look forward to those of you that will attend NAMIS to visit our digital manufacturing makerspace in Abuja. It's cutting edge, and we host digital modeling, prototyping equipment and technologies that have been transferred open source and free with all of their source codes from partners that we have met from various engagements that RISA has enabled us to have. And these technologies will be localized in Nigeria and reproduced for sale through a channel distribution system. The theory, the hypothesis is that if you import them fully built, they would be more expensive than if we have 50% of the materials built sourced locally and then the machines built. These machines are the likes of a CNC laser cutter, a CNC wood router, a CNC plasma cutter, and the likes. Now, this digital manufacturing makerspace is a rallying point for fabricators across Nigeria, and they are really excited to be able to think out a design, send a sketch, and someone at the DMM will pick up that sketch and model it into a design and possibly print a prototype for them to be able to develop. Before they put metal and metal together, they can see the models of their design. So it's a service that would be available to all CONESAM fabricators. But essentially, the strongest aspects of our collaborative approach is that distributed manufacturing method of mass production, where fabricators can come together and build at scale. And we look forward to promoting that even after RISA. And it is actually one of the kernels of sustainability, financial sustainability for CONESAM as an organization after the project. Thank you, Sheila. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. And just a reminder to the audience that you can also pose questions to the panelists. We have the Q&A section at the top of your screen, or feed in your question, and the question with the most votes from the floor will be directed to our panelists. So I only have one last question to the three of you. I know it's been quite a minute we've spent together, but before I ask you the last question, audience, we would like to find out from you, how can funders and policymakers better support strategic collaboration that drive systemic change? Again, this is an open-ended question. We welcome your responses, and these responses will help us better understand the Africa's research and innovation landscape, and help us improve on the programming on all these research innovation ecosystem programs that we have across the board. Okay, so the last question, and also just note that the chat section has been disabled. We are engaging through the Q&A. All right, panelists, this is the last question, and then we go to the questions from the audience. I can see some have been coming in, not too many, not too difficult. So the last question is around the learnings, the lessons you have learned. What can you offer as guidance to initiatives that are emerging and they're looking at forming, establishing, or strengthening impactful collaboration in Africa's research and innovation space, to continue providing that responsive programming to strengthen our socio-economic development? So, ladies first, once again. Mary.
Thank you, Sheila. So I believe some of the key things Emily shared also at the beginning of her presentation. It is quite important to design collaborations that yield short-term tangible achievement towards a long-term goals. So early success reinforces confidence that the collaboration leads to real measurable impact. So this will also demonstrate a proof of concept and also sustainable partner motivation, because it is very important that whatever you are building towards, you see some form of short-term wins out of it. Also important that impactful collaboration depends on bringing together institutions with a clear mandate and capacity for the ecosystem to strengthen. So when you're putting together your stakeholders or your partners that are going to form this collaboration, it is key that you bring people together with a clear mandate and the capacity to be able to support that initiative. Also, for the ESO Collaborative, this meant that we are intentionally involving key stakeholders like the private sector associations, industry representatives like the ESOs themselves, as the hubs, the accelerators, government agencies, and also development partners, all sharing in the stake with the same objective. Also creating incentives for sustainability. So with the ESO pooled fund model, which is blending the grant and returnable instrument, this is rewarding quality improvement and outcome delivery. So this approach really replaces dependency with performance-based sustainability. So having those incentive in, because funding, even from the poll, you could tell that funding was one of the key challenge. So creating that incentive for sustainability is also key. And really embedding learning and adaptation. This would help to scale what works and revise what doesn't. So really looking at, okay, how do we embed learning and adaptation? What should we do more? What is working for us? What should we revise if it's not working? And how do we group in terms of what we are doing? So taking those key few things is what we have learned. And it's an iterative process for us, because we are still learning and adapting, changing what is working and revising what is not working. Yeah, back to you, Sheila.
And Daniel?
Thank you. Yeah, for future initiatives especially, we need to start with local. And we need to make our innovation local context and even demand driven. If we start at the grassroots level, believe me, we will bring a sustainable change. And if we participate and if we collaborate with actors even at grassroots level, and if we keep the interest of our end users, we will have a sustainable initiative or a sustainable program. So what we learned from our experiences, when you think of creating a certain innovation, one, we need to think of a co-creation. The concept of co-creation is very important. And also we need to think of scaling as a beginning of innovation creation. We need to think of commercialization and scaling when we generate a new knowledge or when we start up a certain innovation. And the other issues, as already said, we need to develop an incentive mechanism for different actors to join our collaboration. This incentive may not be only in financial terms. We need to create different incentive mechanisms so that every actor should come together and collaborate. So we are now in the area of collaboration. Collaboration matters, partnership matters. It's difficult in this time to do our research in office, in isolation and the like. We need to go to farmers. We need to think of local context. We need to think of participation of farmers and users in every activities of our project, starting from the beginning. And then a sustainable activities or a demand-driven initiative will bring, change which brings for in a sustainable manner. So what we have learned from our previous, actually we have a 2-year project. The first one we promote the production technologies, and the second year we promote mostly the post-harvest technologies. So this is a demand-driven phase that helps us, to bring a sustainable change, a sustainable system change in our case. So localization matters. Context-specific intervention is very important, and also demand-driven intervention is highly appreciated. So this is my suggestion for future initiatives who are working on this area. Thank you, Sheila. This is over to you.
Thank you, Daniel. I noticed that Dr. Tese has stepped aside just for a second to grab water, but he will be joining us. My team, Oliver, you could check. Now we move to the Q&A session where now we get the questions from the audience. And there are quite some good questions here. I'm going to begin with Daniel. You've spoken about the local context, demand-driven. Now there's a question here. It's asking, given the wide range of problems to be solved and needs for R&I, how are these frameworks identifying needs and prioritizing allocation of resources? I'll ask it again. Given the wide range of problems to be solved and the needs for research and innovation, how are these frameworks identifying needs and prioritizing allocation of resources? Who wants to go first? Mary, Daniel, Dr. Tese, welcome back. I'll get you on the next question.
Okay, we do have different.
Thank you. Sorry,
approach.
I had a power outage here.
Not to worry, not to worry. Welcome back. Yes, Daniel?
Okay, we do have different approach. We should follow a participatory approach so that we can prioritize farmers' need based on their interest. So we are working for farmers. We are working with farmers. So we need to, so the basic thing is, the approach that we employ should be a participatory. So we do have different participatory approach so that we can, give a room for farmers or for end users to prioritize their own problem and also to prioritize their own need and even to prioritize their own solution. At the same time, we do have different problems, yeah. So we will give a room for them to prioritize using a participatory method to prioritize their problem. And even they have the capacity to prioritize the solution too. So our farmers are, they are the one who can have their own local innovation. They do have their own local knowledge. So participatory approach can help us, to address such kind of issue. That is what I have for this question, Sheila. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Mary?
Yeah, just to add to what Dr. Daniel said, again, yes, identifying your own problems and coming together to co-design the solutions. So from where we started from a series of peer learning, stakeholder engagement with the ESOs themselves, a series of workshops, forums, meetings, just to understand what the problems are, and then also design the solutions to these problems. So those initiatives of solutions that we've come up with were co-designed by the ecosystem. With that way, you get a lot of interest from the key stakeholders that you're trying to give the solutions to. Because imagine a world where you don't know what the problems are and you just come with solutions without learning from the local context. That way, it wouldn't really help anyone. You have a lot of interest from the local people supporting or being part of it. Because from the work that we are doing is also through voluntary work. So to get people to really volunteer time, resources to say that I'm going to do this with you, you really need to ensure that it works with their mandate. And it's also the gaps that the issues that they've identified, and the solution actually addresses those issues. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Mary. So we just have two more questions from the floor, and then we begin the end of our conversation. So Dr. Tese, now beginning with you, the next question is looking ahead, give 5 years, give or take 5 years. What is a dream partnership or collaboration that you'd love to see realized within your context?
So within our context, we have triggered what we call technology support development partnership with research institutions. Research institutions are researchers. They don't market products. They don't market solutions. We look forward to have that kind of collaboration between research institutions and CONESAM, where CONESAM becomes the marketing arm of their innovations and facilitating innovation to market consistently and making money also within that context. We also foresee a CONESAM that will also become an entry point for original equipment manufacturers from abroad that want to get into this market, where they now say, hey guys, the market is competitive. If this equipment comes full developed into Nigeria, it will cost maybe $5. But because you guys have the capacity, you can see how we can develop local components of it and say, okay, take away 60%, and the machine becomes $3,000. So we look forward to a CONESAM that will have this kind of partnerships and collaborations with OEMs that would lead to this kinds of collaboration that CONESAM and our digital manufacturing makerspace becomes the choice partner for OEMs who want to bring in their technologies to Nigeria.
Thank you, Dr. Tese. Daniel, if you're given 5 years, what would you like to see as a dream partnership collaboration?
Yeah, since our actors in our platform, they do have different mandate and different responsibility. For example, our universities focus, actually the main duty is on training, on long-term and short-term training, and even postgraduate. And the other partner, for example, is from the research institute. So these guys are, they are good in conducting research, and they are doing on research methodology and the like. and our university is very influential in providing training. So, we need to think of a collaborative activity for future, so that each organizations, each actors in the platform can benefit a lot from one to the other. So we can give, for example, a methodology training for researchers, and researchers also can give us different research methodology training for our instructors. So in the future, if this platform long lasts for the next 5 years in the life, we can have, we can produce a long system change in providing or in disseminating technologies, in creating innovation. I can say we can strengthen the research and innovation ecosystem of our region in particular and at national level. So yeah, it's always, if you conduct different activities in collaboration, the change may stay for a long period of time, and even we may benefit our farmers in a sustainability way. So this is the issues that I can raise in this regard.
All right, thank you, Daniel. Mary?
Yeah, for me, it's quite straightforward because Africa has no such shortage of talent or ideas. And really what is missing is the integrated innovation pipeline. We've implemented the model here in Ghana. It's working. We've seen some impact. We've piloted also in Nigeria, and we are seeing a lot of jobs being created, quality improvement of the program. So really having that Pan-African research enterprise and investment collaborative, which really is uniting all these universities, enterprise support, investors, and also policymakers under one shared mission. So how are we increasing investment, access to financing to SMEs? How are we improving the quality of their programs? Really, so to turn African innovation into a scalable, investable, and a globally competitive enterprise.
All right, thank you, Mary. Audience, I must commend you. The questions are coming in and you're voting. Yeah, so I'm also looking at time, and now I'm torn in between one of two questions that I can ask the panelists. And there's this particular one that interests me, and I'd like to hear how the various teams can respond to it. And it's on policy. With all these models that you've spoken about, the progress that you have made, how is this influencing policy, and what is the role of policy?
Okay.
Dr. Tese.
Yes, it's interesting that policy is always an important point of conversation when interventions like what we have rolled out come to play. But we have learned that it might not be the first point of call. In Nigeria, we have had instances where a lot of beautiful global policies have been brought in and adopted and domesticated, but we just see them end up as beautiful paperwork on the shelves of government offices. So an approach that has worked for us is when we have been able to showcase some sort of success story along the lines of what we are doing, we now engage with government and say, hey guys, look, we tried this and there's proof of concept that it works. And this is how we have opened the doors of all the government collaborators that we're working with very closely, and a lot of them across all our interventions, because we approach them with that evidence and say, hey, we tried this and it works like this. What do you guys think? And then we can take it into a policy space where we are now having a policy guideline that is very, very localized and pragmatic, and recognizing all the local peculiarities within the ecosystem. So yes, policy is important, but it depends on where you start from.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Mary, what do you think? What's the role of policy?
Yeah, So just to piggyback on what was shared by Tese. So yes, again, looking at where it works for us, integrating government agencies or trying to bring them on board to the collaborative has really helped, because whatever solutions or initiatives that the ESO Collaborative is working on is influencing, oh, okay, what should some of the structures be put in place to ensure that these ESOs deliver on good programs for SMEs? Because at the bottom line, the SMEs are the ones that grow the nation. They are creating the jobs. They are creating revenues and incomes for the household. So looking at just coming from the ESO point of view, what are some of the policy frameworks that can put in place will also stem from some of the issues and the gaps that we are raising. So we have incorporated of had partners from the government side coming in and also listening and sitting in to say that, look, this is working. Does it really need to have like a bill to institutionalize this or not? So those are some of the things that is helping in terms of the policy work. Back to you.
Thank you, Mary. And Daniel, what do you think the role of policy is and how you're able to influence it?
Yeah, the role of policies is always very crucial for the implementation of a certain intervention. Yeah, it's very important to talk about on policy. But you see, one of our activities, to write up a policy brief on our intervention, a policy brief on scaling, for example. We are dealing on that. In Ethiopia, most universities and research institutes are focusing on pilot testing. They are not focusing on scaling, for example. But currently, the government or the ministry has tried to have a new regulation or a new policy on that, which focuses on pluralistic extension, in which every research institutions, private and universities can engage in scaling of innovation to the farmers. So our intervention is also a witness. If universities and research institutions engage in scaling of innovation, they can, sustain the impact. So policy is very important, and we can witness the collaboration, the partnership, innovation platforms, and the like are very important for scaling of innovations. So a policy brief, the interventions need to be supplemented or complemented with a policy. So policy is very important in this circumstance, and we are on the way to write a policy brief based on our 2 years intervention, in which what we did for the last 2 years. Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. And in 1 minute, there's one pertinent question we would need to answer. 1 minute. So that means a few seconds each of you. Now, in partnerships, and I had Mary, you mentioned institutions coming together with a clear mandate to work together and balancing the powers. But where you begin cordially and you have mandate defined, you find that that's at the beginning. You find that as implementation progresses, the mandate issues come up again. So have you experienced this, and how have you resolved it from your perspective? Starting with Mary, you began with this, leading to Daniel and Dr. Tese. In a few seconds, each of you.
Yeah, again, said that. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
Again, so yes, so for us, as we are, we've embedded learning and adaptation in. So whatever is working, we continue. Whatever is not working, we kind of revise it. And so for some of the issues and some of the solutions we've created. So let me take, for example, the ESO pooled fund. This came out as a very key issue in terms of financing for the ESOs and the businesses themselves. Now we've designed this. It took a series of iterations or a series of years to design this, and learning from also our partners. Now we are looking more at the second window, because we've realized that that is where the need really is, which is a pre-seed or a returnable grant to the businesses that are going through the ESOs themselves. because realized that, okay, now the first window, yes, it's been designed, it was a mandate, it was going on, but we have ESOs that we're giving grant to already, but then we are not tackling the SMEs that are also looking for funding. So now we are piloting the ESO Put Fund, but we are targeting the second window instead, giving grants to the SMEs themselves that are going through the ESO program. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Mary. Daniel, then Dr. Tese in a few seconds.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, actually, it is inevitable, to have a mandate conflict. We can say it's mandate conflict sometimes. So there is an issue of mandate in partnership and collaboration. But at the beginning, we need to critically work the functions of each actor within the platform. We need to clearly delegate what functions. Commonly, we do have certain functions in a system, actually, literature. So we do have a function on knowledge development, on research. We do have a function on dissemination. We do have a function on market. We do have a function on resource mobilization. We do have a function on legitimacy and the like. So we need to segregate all actors based on function and based on their mandate. And then we need to have a clear responsibility for each actor. In that case, at least we can minimize the issue of the issue of mandates within the partnership. Yeah,
right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Dr. Tese?
Okay, so mandate issues are there, and I see them first of all prior to your engagement and then mid-term to long-term. What we did was to, in a place like Nigeria with 3 tiers of government and multiplicity of agencies, you would find very easily 2 or 3 agencies with conflicting mandates. And so the first thing we did was to conduct a proper political economy analysis of the stakeholders within the ecosystem that we want to work with. And we gauge them based on their strengths and then engaged. We did not engage those that we did not think we needed to engage, even though they had some sort of mandate. So we selected amongst a few of them. But then when you start working together, you will also notice that it's not all the stakeholders that will come up strong at your pace. So there would be need for consistent follow-up. And when we now selected the MDAs that we're going to work with, we made sure that we met one-on-one with their chief executives so that we can have that agreement that, yes, you guys can go along and we are part of you.
All right.
And for every meeting, we insisted that the chief executive must appoint 1 or 2 focal persons that report to him with the progress made on the project and happenings. So that was an approach that really reduced almost to 0 mandate issues within our KECC project. However, apart from institutional mandates around organizations, you also have individual interests that can also conflict within this space. And managing that process consistently is a chore, but it's very necessary and essential to sustainability.
Thank you,
Over to you,
Dr.
Sheila.
Thank you. And to everybody, yes, this discussion at this time marks our point of closure. I'd like to thank all panelists for the engaging, captivating conversation, for the audience for staying awake and together. And mine at this point is to appreciate everybody. And just to mention that this is the first of a 4-part series webinar of learnings from RISA Fund's work in the research and innovation ecosystem space. The next webinar is coming in on December 9th, which will focus on research development and impact. So please stay tuned on our second webinar. We look forward to having you at that point. And we are also looking forward to sharing the report from today's webinar with you, as well as the poll results from this discussion. I thank you very much for the 1 minute extra and for almost 90 participants that we've had today. Thank you and have a lovely day, evening, morning, depending on where you're calling us from. Thank you again, Dr. Emmeline, for walking us through and the support received from FCDO. Thank you all. Au revoir.